sighted frequently, and they're called boogers. Here in Louisiana, we have the Honey Island swamp monster. Well, as you can see, it's probably not the ideal climate for a large primate, but the sightings do continue. Interestingly enough, a lot of three-toed tracks are found in places like this. Okay, swamp monsters are real. We are here with Chester Moore, one of Texas' most renowned cryptozoologists. He's an accomplished outdoorsman and writer with 2 new books. He is sponsor of the Southern Crypto Conference, and he also has a website, cryptokeeper.com. It's one of the most popular cryptozoology sites. And we also have Patrick Trumbull from Team Crypto Keeper. And we are here, we've sort of joined forces together here in the ultimate adventure, the ultimate quest to prove that there is an ape in North America, also known as Bigfoot.
And we are in the heart of the area you'd want to go looking. You know, I have a lot of people say, Chester, that Bigfoot stuff's hokey, there's no such thing. Then I show them a picture of a place like this, so why don't you come hang out here with me at night?
Yeah.
They never take my invitation. The reason is there are undiscovered ape species here in North America, and this is an area that's on a straight line between 2 very good sightings, and it's right smack dab in the middle. I never go out in the woods looking for Bigfoot sign in an area that doesn't have sightings around. I don't have time to do that. But if you find an area that has a history of sightings, you have a good chance of finding sign. And this right here, that I've allowed Kim to come into with me, has the best sign I've found in the last 3 years. This is good stuff, and hopefully we'll find something.
All right, well, let's head down the trail and see what we see.
Yep.
Pretty fair-sized dog.
Yeah, that's right, there were 2 dogs.
Remember we saw those bed sheets and we see
more bones.
Looking hair laying on the ground and we see bones.
Yeah.
It's a little freaky there for a minute.
See that curvature in there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this one wasn't here, Pat. The rest of them were. It's a big animal. Oh, look at that. See that?
Right here in Orange County, where Chester has just cast a very interesting track that we found. Several tracks. Defined curve. Very long and slender. So he's going to take a cast home for comparison to some other things he has. There's not a great deal of definition, but there's certainly things that can be told, I'm sure, out of the size and shape and so forth. What are you going to tell us about these 3- and 4-toed tracks, particularly 3-toed tracks that you're finding in this area?
Well, it's real interesting. I had found several 4-toed tracks, 10 miles north of here.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular area, I've found 3-toed tracks. And I have a real distinct belief that these animals are inbreeding. And in the Pacific Northwest, you have basically one chunk of gigantic contiguous habitat between Northern California and British Columbia, and way into British Columbia. In the South, you have more habitat for the creatures, but it's more fractionalized. You'll have a reservoir here, a highway here, a gigantic river like the Sabine, which is a few miles away right here. And there have been studies that have showed primates, when they start inbreeding, will have weird numbers of digits, fingers and toes. There's a tribe in Africa that has 2 toes because they can't marry religiously outside their family.
Right.
So I think what we're having is evidence of inbreeding with these animals, which may also explain some of the aggression that southern Bigfoot creatures tend to show more than the Pacific Northwest. I've always joked that we have redneck Bigfoots, they have hippies. But the reality of it is, I believe, the inbreeding has caused a more aggressive animal. People, these idiots that breed pit bulls to fight, breed them together because inbreeding makes a more aggressive animal. I think that's what's happening here in the southern United States.
And you think they might maybe feel a little bit squeezed because their habitats are sort of broken up into these little sections?
Absolutely, more territorial. Everything points to a more territorial animal, and we'll show you that here in the woods.
All right, let's check it out. All right, it's Patrick Trumbull from Team Crypto Keeper, and what have you got there, Patrick?
Basically what we found here, this is a mussel shell that shows some signs of having been chewed on. If you look there, you can see where some of the outer area has been scraped away. It's not unusual for us in the south here to find where these mussel shells have been dug up and eaten by these Bigfoot creatures. We often find them, if you're near an aquatic area where you would find these shells in the mud, we'll often find tracks on the edge of the water, things like that, and we'll find where these have been chewed on and eaten. We've even found scat that has pieces of the shell in it. So it's...
So is there another animal in this region that would eat mussels and carry them along with them for any
probably
distance?
nothing that would produce scats that big with mussel shells. And when you have things like otters and things like that, but probably nothing that would really just chew on them and crack them like that.
Okay, thanks.
In September of 2002, we discovered a strange hut-like structure. It was similar to the nests that are used by gorillas.
Certainly big enough for a large animal or a couple people to, if they were desperate enough. It doesn't look natural at all. It's obviously artificial. Even over there you can see where some grass has been kind of laid over.
Nearby, a thick branch had been twisted or wrenched in an unnatural way.
As it was wrenched or twisted, here's the top of it. It looks like it was twisted. I wish we had a saw. I would take this piece with us, chop it off right there and just take the twist. Let's look for hairs. There are some spider web, some webs. We have an interesting tree formation here.
Something dragged that over.
Yeah.
I don't see that as just a fall. The way it's stuck on top of each other like that. Hold on.
Yeah, there's actually two branches that have been laid in a crossing pattern.
It's better, guys. There's 3 branches stacked up in this tree right here.
Uh-huh.
Tree formation.
See that?
This is one of the 3 spots I've ever been spooked out of the woods in my life. I'm an idiot. I don't care. Not a lot scares me out in the woods, but something felt really bizarre here, and it's like something blocked off the trail. I don't know. This is just a strange pattern here. The way this is looks deliberate. You know.
I agree. Look at the way that one snapped right there.
Yeah, it looks very deliberate looking.
By calling out to them, Chester hopes to evoke a response.
Oh, faint.
Suddenly, we all hear a deep guttural panting sound emanating from some nearby brush.
You hear that? Oh, what the fuck that was? We were in some thick, nasty brush, and we had something grunting like a goddamn primate a few minutes ago. And it got off in this brush, and Patrick is holding the cameras, picking up a heat source. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take this right now and show you the heat source. I've been hearing noise in here, and this verified there's a large animal moving. I'm smelling something now. Just total smell, just real quick. Large animal moving through here. Very interesting, very thick brush, and exactly where we heard the noise when we heard a large crash. Something's going on, and I think where it trails in, because I ain't crawling through there. I may be stupid, but I'm not that stupid.
That night, we make camp.
Here in the Caddo grasslands of North Texas, about 2:30 in the morning. And we've had some interesting things happen tonight. Heard some interesting sounds. There are monsters. They're not showing themselves. Came down to the water's edge this morning. Found some turtle shells. This one's been ripped open. There's 2, 3. There's 4. We have gotten reports of Bigfoot eating turtles, or we're finding huge stacks of turtle shells that have been emptied out and presuming they're Bigfoot. Not a lot of animals eat turtles. Alligator might, but he's not going to rip open the top like that. Possible tracks coming to the water. They're small, but very deep.
Is there a man-like creature lurking throughout the swamps and bottomlands of North America? The evidence seems to indicate that there are undiscovered primates living in our midst.
Having now seen some of the evidence which you and Chester Moore and other researchers have come up with, I believe that there is at least one species of unknown higher primate in North America.
I have no qualms whatsoever to reasonably deduce that the distribution of the North American bipedal hairy hominid is pretty much continent-wide. There are no exceptions on the contiguous mainland of the United States and Canada. These are political delineations as opposed to geographical. I'm quite open to the idea of them being in the east and in the southwest, such as in Texas. I mean, I've looked at the evidence in the state of Texas in particular, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. What you're seeing down there is very similar indeed to what we see up here. And physical boundaries being what they are, there's no reason these animals aren't able to migrate all over the place. Whether they are stationed in one particular place at any given time is another story, but certainly there's a possibility of migration.
In 1976, newspapers in South Texas began to report sightings of a gigantic bird-like creature.
Hi, we're here with Guadalupe Cantu III in the La Palma colony of San Benito. We've been researching the big bird.
Okay.
So we'd like to walk around the neighborhood a little bit here, and maybe you could tell us some stories and things that have happened to people around here.
Sure.
Obviously the main flap was back years ago, as you said, in the 70s, but occasionally something may crop up here.
There's still a possibility that something, maybe that one and something else also is alive. Yeah.
Wow.
I think there are two kinds for sure.
You think there are two different kinds?
Yes, for sure.
Now you say you told me on the phone you've actually seen it. You saw something yourself.
Yes. The one I saw was all black and had the beak, a large beak, but curved like an eagle or a hawk. And it just took off from a vertical telephone pole, and it just flapped its wings once or twice, and it just glided like it was hunting for rabbits or any other type of animal.
Was this in this area?
It was at night. It was about 7 miles from here to the south, south of this town.
And there's actually been reportings all over the area. I've researched and found things in Raymondville, Brownsville. But
well, according to my friends here, 2 other friends have seen this one that's all black. And kind of recently, because the one I saw was about 8 years ago, that black one. I saw that one.
How large was it? Obviously much larger than a normal type of bird that you'd see, like a hawk or a
it's
vulture. It's
about wingspan of about, it doesn't even come close. Those,
no comparison.
Those little birds like this. This one is like this, about 15 feet wingspan.
15 feet.
Something like that, about 15 feet more or less. Like the size of those crop duster planes, those small planes.
Wow.
That wingspan. It was huge and about 3 feet wide, more or less. Body, something like that. It was kind of big. bird. I think that's kind of wide.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you know, I'm about 2 feet, maybe. And the thing's about this wide.
Yeah, well, they say that it was as tall as a man, so
Yeah.
there really are no birds that tall.
No, there aren't any, no.
I mean, well, flightless birds like ostriches, but not any birds that fly. So.
Okay, and another thing, when in my incident, the bird actually took off. It went underneath some trees there, right there, where it is.
Uh-huh.
And the dogs jumped at it, they missed it, and the bird flew right here. But here there used to be a tree there, a big tree, and it started making noise right there at that point.
I think I read in the book that there were some stories about people that maybe got attacked, or did that ever happen? Did
Well, I heard that the lady, there was a lady, well, she's dead, she was quite old, right? But a lady on the other street, I was told that she got attacked by a big bird, that she went to the outhouse at the back, and the thing got her and scratched her all up. As a small child, I wanted to go see the lady, but my grandmother stopped me from doing it, said, no, son, I don't want you to go.
She probably didn't want to talk about it, maybe.
Wow. So, to me, it was like a witch, demon thing, something really bad, but now as I'm older, I think it's simply an old prehistoric bird.
Yeah.
I think it's prehistoric.
I also believe that the California condor, which was once found all over North America, I think that it is quite possible that there are relic populations of them in parts of the country which haven't been discovered. I'm also fascinated with the idea of surviving terratons. It's a subject I don't know enough about. I'm not really qualified to give an expert opinion, but the idea that terratons, which were massive raptors, could have survived the present day is a very engaging one. I've got a lot of respect for Mark Hall, but I'm afraid I don't buy his theory of the giant owl. I'd love to, but it doesn't ring true to me.
In September of 2002, I interviewed Richard Guzman of Houston. He claims to have sighted a living pterosaur back in the early 1980s. This is his own sketch of what he claims he saw.
The giant Mekong catfish of Asia can reach lengths of over 8 feet and can weigh over 300 pounds. There have been stories about giant man-eating catfish in the Americas.
Lake of the Pines here in northeast Texas. Talking to the locals, supposedly there's a legend about a giant catfish that grew up inside a Cadillac, a sunken Cadillac. Well, we don't know about that part of the story, but according to author Lauren Coleman, there have been sightings of giant catfish here in Lake of the Pines. And possibly close to something like this dam, although we're not sure this is where we would find them. The official record for the biggest catfish caught in the lake is only 59 pounds and about 4 feet, so until someone brings the big one in, we'll just have to go with that.
I believe it was a 6-year-old boy had been killed, so they were ready to bait and trap this particular creature and destroy it. Well, George thought, you know, these guys are way off their rocker, there can't be a catfish that's big enough to attack 6-year-old children. But George, all of a sudden, a couple of days later, heard this huge commotion on the river of explosions, shooting, screaming and shouting. Unfortunately, he was able to get down to the riverbank and see what was going on. And George saw an 18-foot long catfish thrashing in the water as they were attempting to capture it. So the myths and legends of outsized catfish aren't necessarily legends. Here we have a case of this mutant, obviously, of the species causing havoc on the River Danube and having to be destroyed by the local citizenry. George doesn't know what happened to it in the end or if they were able to kill it because he had to resume filming. But certainly it struck him deeply enough to tell me that particular story.
So we found that there was a giant catfish living in Martin Mere. It was almost certainly the biggest and the largest and the oldest freshwater fish in Britain. And it's about the same sort of size as me. It's nearly 7 foot long. It actually looks a bit like me. It's got a big stomach and too many whiskers at one end. But we have a giant catfish living in a tiny lake in northern England. So you're telling me that in a continent like North America, where there are several species of catfish, we know that the blue cat gets to an enormous size. We know that the channel cat can get much bigger than most people like to think. Even the black bullhead can get to quite a considerable size. The fact that there's giant catfish in dams across Texas, bloody hell, I don't doubt it for a moment. I think it's unlikely that we're talking about a new species, but as I know from my research at Martin Mere, these things, when they get that big, they're practically indestructible. It will have no natural predators except for man. And from what you're telling me, it'll scare the living bejesus out of any diver that goes down there. So, dude, I wish you all the luck in the world getting photographs. Let me have a look at them. I want to see the photos. But Mr. Fish, I wish you all the luck in the world to last another couple of 100 years as well, because you deserve it.
Chester and I decided to investigate Lake Steinhagen in Jasper County, where legends about giant catfish have long persisted. Chester is an experienced scuba diver who's been face to face with great white sharks, and between the both of us we have some underwater cameras.
The unofficial lake record is 112 pounds. Well, we're looking for something much, much bigger.
Finding a channel in the lake might be difficult. Might prove to be difficult.
Many of the legends surrounding giant catfish involve divers near dams. Besides worrying about submerged timber and snapping turtles, Chester also has to look out for alligators and venomous water moccasins.
How deep am I here, Joe?
22 feet?
22.
Any timber?
No, it shows anything.
Fucking lake belt already.
Unfortunately, the water proves to be too murky. The quest for America's legendary man-eating catfish continues.
We came to the Texas Freshwater Fisheries Center to see Splash, a new state record blue catfish who weighs in at 150 pounds.